Pasta fazool is a riff on an Italian soup made with pasta and beans, and mine is a symphony of pantry ingredients, and you're gonna love it. First things first, pasta fazool, also known as pasta e fagioli. All my Italian friends are gonna make fun of me. Started out as kind of a pantry recipe. It all comes together really quickly and most of the ingredients can be swapped out. Get your soup pot over anywhere from medium to medium high heat. We wanna add some meaty flavor here. I have all these rando scraps of bacon that I had in my freezer. The ones that were chopped, I'm gonna go ahead and get right into the pan so they can start rendering down, along with 2 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil. And the rest of this, I'm just gonna go ahead and finely dice. Okay, that looks good. Into the pot. This is gonna cook for about 5 minutes till it's rendered and crisp. In the meantime, let's wash our hands. While the bacon cooks, let's go ahead and cut our aromatics. So I'm using a red onion because that's what I have on hand. If you have a white onion, use a white onion. If you have a yellow onion, use yellow onion. This is definitely a choose your own adventure kind of soup. When I chop onion, I like to cut off the end, cut it in half, but I leave the root end intact because it holds it together. A lot of people have special techniques for cutting an onions where they cut it horizontally, then they cut it vertically, and then they cut it horizontally again. I don't do that because all of the layers of the onion are just gonna kind of naturally allow it to fall into pieces. As you can see, you do want to make sure they're sort of all the same size, even though this is a soup. We're going to kind of let our onion vibe out on the side while we finish cooking the bacon. Yum. Bacon looks good. Onion into the pot and give it a stir. We're going to add a generous pinch of salt. Not going to lie, onion, bacon cooking together is an incredible aroma. Let that go. And we also want some garlic. I'm using 2 cloves of garlic. If you don't have fresh garlic, feel free to use garlic powder here. Thinly slice the garlic. Get it all in there. So our onion is softened, our garlic is starting to soften. To that, we want to bump up the flavor, crushed red pepper. So I'm gonna add a half a teaspoon, because I like it spicy, into the pot. And we are going to add a teaspoon of dried oregano. I'm just gonna go ahead and crumble it into the pot. And we don't want to cook this too much so that the crushed red pepper or the oregano burns. You just want to cook it for about 30 seconds. And you can see how the bacon is rendered, the onion and the garlic are starting to soften, and all of this color on the bottom of the pan is going to be so much flavor once we deglaze it with some wine. And I'm using a half a cup of dry white wine. All right, and use your wooden spoon to scrape up all that flavor. Once your wine is evaporated, which should only take about 2 minutes, we're gonna add some tomatoes and some chicken stock. Here I have a 28-ounce can of crushed tomatoes. You can use whatever you have on hand. Can of fire roasted, into the pot. Can of diced, into the pot. One thing that I like to do whenever I'm pouring tomatoes from a can is I take a little water or a little of the broth that I'm gonna use for the soup, and I use it to kind of deglaze my tomato can so that we're getting as much tomato into the soup as possible. So to the tomato, I'm adding 1 quart of chicken broth. Bring this to a boil over high heat. Might take a minute. In the meantime, let's talk about our pasta. This is ditalini. It's a small tubular pasta. You can use any short pasta you have, whether you have shells, elbow macaroni. If all you have is spaghetti or angel hair, just break it up and get it into the pot. I'm seeing some bubbling action going on. I'm getting hungry. Let's go for it. Pasta's in, you wanna cook it till it's al dente. That's about 10 minutes, so. While that cooks, I'm gonna go ahead and rinse and drain a can of cannellini beans. So I'll meet you back at the pot. Okay, it's been almost 10 minutes. I'm gonna go ahead and taste this. Perfectly al dente, so they're gonna go right into the pot here. And because they're canned beans, they're already cooked, so they really just need to be heated through. Sometimes I add cannellini beans, sometimes I add chickpeas, sometimes I add black beans. I think we're ready to serve. Let's go right in here. The short pasta has a lot of starch, so it gives the soup this like really silky, thickened texture. I have an incredible soup here. But wait, if you are lucky enough to have one lonely sprig of basil. Seriously, I went through a whole bunch of basil that I had in the fridge and this was all that was left. I'm just gonna take one of these, put it right on top. And we have pasta fazool gonna go ahead and give it a taste. That is so good. And I actually really love how that basil just kind of freshened it up. If there ever was a recipe that was invented to clean out the pantry, it's this pasta visual. I hope you like it.